Welcome to the Blueprint Podcast. Today we are talking insurance. And no, not that sleazy multi-level marketers that overpromise you, tell you're going to be a millionaire. We're talking about legit business where you can sell insurance as a side hustle or even maybe full-time, making as much as maybe even $10,000 a month in your first year. So we're going to be talking with Courtney Burth, who is a 20-year veteran in the insurance game. She's got great energy, a heart to serve. And the insurance industry can be hard to be in. And she's been doing this for 20 years. So she knows her stuff. She's very knowledgeable. And she's going to be giving us the game on how we can be profitable insurance agents, grow our businesses, take care of our families, reach financial freedom, all the things that you want. Let's get started. All right. Well, welcome in, Ms. Courtney.
Thank you.
Super excited. This is round 2 on the podcast with you.
It is. It's round 2.
Yes, which is so funny because we were talking about insurance, right? And what happened, for those of you who don't know, we filmed an episode a couple weeks ago, and then our videographer's car got broken into, and all the footage was lost, right? Cool thing is he had insurance. He was able to replace his equipment, but we didn't get the footage back. So Courtney was gracious enough to come back on the episode. So why don't you just introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into the insurance game.
Yes, of course. I am Courtney Burth. I am an agency owner with City Center Insurance Brokerage here in Houston. I also, not only do I own my own agency, but I also work for the company and recruit, onboard, and train as well too.
Okay.
This September is going to be 20 years. It's going to be 20 years that I've been in this industry. Wow. So I tell everybody I started when I was 4, but I did not. I started when I was 19 years old and did not think that this was the profession that I was going to be in. But got my licensing, took off from there, and here I am 20 years later.
So tell us about that 19-year-old. How did you get into insurance? Because I mean, that's, what was the process?
Yeah, no, for sure. It was actually I think you always stumble into insurance. Unless your family is in it, like your father, your grandparents, or however, usually you stumble into the industry. And I did. I stumbled into it. I was working for a logistics company in Houston, and the drive at the time was too much because I lived on the north side and born and raised in Conroe. I'm a Conroe girl. And so the drive was too much. And I had a friend who did all of the banking for a farmer's insurance agent, and he was looking for a producer. And I thought, okay, before I go back to school, because I'd asked for like a year off, I was like, let me take a year off because I did every extracurricular thing you could think of in the book in high school and in school. And so I met with the insurance agent and he hired me as a producer. I didn't know at the time he was the top in the nation within his district. And so I got awesome training from him. And so it was something I got licensed with the state and just kind of skyrocketed from there. From him, I went to managing an agency with another agent. And then from there moved into Houston and met with the district manager and started working with him and was with the district on the corporate side of things for over 10 years. And we were the #1 district in the nation that housed 140 agents. So I've had awesome stair climbing experiences within the industry.
Yeah, I love that. And I definitely want to come back to that because for agents who are joining your team or considering getting into insurance, maybe you're already in the industry and you're considering, making a move, or you're new to it. I think finding experienced people is probably the fast track to getting there. So let's talk about the economics of insurance. How do you make money as an insurance agent, right? Because I think there's a lot of misconceptions about it. Like I said in the intro, people kind of think it's kind of oh, it's just a gimmick, or it's just, the multi-level marketer. So kind of talk about, how do you actually make money in insurance?
Yeah, for sure. I always say be a well-versed agency owner or even producer. When you're marketing, it's nice to have a healthy network, of course. And when people see that you're getting into the business, into the industry, you'll be very surprised on those that support you, whether on the producer route, or if you having your own business as an agent. But be well versed. Don't just say, oh, I'm going to specifically go after, this product line. When you're well versed with auto, homeowners, commercial, life, and you have a balancing agency, that's what brings in premium. If you're just focused on one thing, yes, money will come in. But if you're not focused in dabbling on each resource, then of course, the more the more comes in.
Yeah. Okay. So insurance, typically in business, we tell people to niche down. So insurance, you would say the opposite, right? You really want to be a little more diverse in your experience. And you have to get certified in each individual product.
So there's 2 licenses that you need to have with the state, which is called your P&C, so property and casualty, which encompasses your auto, your home, your life, your commercial, umbrella, and so forth. And then there's your L&H, your life and health license, which dabbles life insurance, health insurance side. So those 2 licenses that you get with the state, knock them both out. I always say be dual licensed. You're a double threat when you have both of them.
Love it.
And you're walking in with that and you're able to write all of the products. And it takes time. Of course, you're not going to jump into it and know everything, but get yourself a mentor or a team or a company that's going to hold your hand. So therefore you can become the best at what you're doing.
And if,
know your product.
And if you're already in the game, someone who can help elevate you to the next level. Right.
Exactly. Because you could be someone who's maybe been in it for a period of time, but maybe you've been that producer that's only been labeled into this certain section. Your agents only had you work with these products. Whereas if you're working with these others or you start incorporating and adding that to the mix, those might be the higher premiums that bring in and so forth. So be well versed.
So if someone, let's say someone wants to make $10,000 a month selling insurance, how would they do that? And like, how many policies would they have to write? Like, how would that work?
It necessarily doesn't have to be the quantity of the policies. You can actually do one. You can do one big commercial, policy that would end up giving you that $10K in premium. That takes time because you have to think about it. With any business, you're building those relationships and that network. But I love business owners because if I'm going after a business owner, if I have a relationship with a business owner, they have their own business. Let's say it's a restaurant. So I'm insuring their restaurant. I'm insuring a lot of things, maybe that's internally as well too, their property. And I'll always say, if the client trusts me with what makes them green, if you're trusting me with your business and insuring your business, why are you not going to let me insure the Honda Accord and 123 Main Street in Houston that you live at? And so going back to being well-versed and having multiple lines of policies, then the premium is going to just grow from there, which is just a larger commission. So it doesn't have to be that, I've got to sell 100 policies to make $10K this month. It can be you being very selective with that client or your clientele and your network and kind of knowing your niche and seeing how you can just make it from
and I love that you could like stack that, right? I mean, you could sell someone a commercial policy, that person still drives a car and that person has a family, so you could sell them like 3 or 4 different policies to the same person, right? So I love that. Okay, so talk about the commission structure. How much does an agent get from a policy that they wrote?
So it just depends. So I'm on the independent side of things. For 17 years, Farmers Insurance raised me, and I love them. That's who raised me. They raised me for 17 years, and then I've been on the independent side of the world for the last 2-3 years. And so with being on the independent side, you have those options. I know we'll get into that, but it just depends. Progressive pays a certain percentage, Travelers pays a certain percentage.
Give some example of a policy you've written recently and kind of what the breakdown was.
There was a large policy that I wrote a few months back that was a commercial client. And she has a warehouse. And so within that warehouse, the premium was a 6-figure premium that she had to pay. But of course, it's a large, substantial, building that she had. And from that, my commission structure was very nice. It was around 10K that the commission was. So like I said, each carrier is different.
So that probably puts you at around like, just doing the math, like maybe 10%, 10 to 12% would be a commission that you would get off of. Got it. So you can expect, depending on whatever policy you sell, whether you're selling a $200, auto policy or a $200,000 commercial policy, you can expect. So that kind of help people kind of do the math in their head, on a very basic level. Obviously, I know there's complexities in that, but it's just someone can kind of figure out, okay, this is where I want to go, this is where I want to be, or what I can expect getting into the industry. You said that farmers raised you. So talk about the difference between the all states of the world or the Prime Americas or and then what you currently do.
I will never knock a company. I won't. Because like I said, I go back to Farmers Raised Me for 17 years and I'll always be a red, white, and blue girl, and know a thing or two, as our slogan says. But when it comes to farmers, your Allstate, your State Farm, great companies, but they're captive. They're what we call captive. And so they're only able to write within their bounds. On the independent side, I have 40 plus carriers that I work with. So I work with Travelers, I work with Progressive, I work with Safeco. And so I have options. So on the captive side, you're limited, so to say. You only have a couple of products that you're able kind of to rock and roll with. On the independent, I'm able, if you were to come to me and say, hey, can I get an auto quote? It's not just one quote that I can provide you. I can research on my side, maybe 5 or 6 options and see what's the best for you.
Okay, got you. So pros and cons for someone picking one or the other. Obviously, one is you're selling just your company's policies. The other one, you get to sell a ton. I mean, like, why do people pick? I mean, to me, I feel like you would pick more policies. Like, well, so why does anyone even work for State Farm? Like, I mean, like, what are the pros and cons? I know you don't want to badmouth anybody, but it's as best you can kind of give us a roadmap for how to pick which lane you should get in.
Right, exactly. I mean, each company has their positives. It does. So, I mean, there's different bonus structures. There's different things with different companies that make it, lucrative and make it attractive. Some people just want to be a farmer's agent. They want to be a State Farm agent.
They like the brand.
And that's fine. That's fine. Now are the days where the independents are getting a lot more of a look at because of what we're dealing with right now. We have inflation. We have where people are actually for the first time in a long time in the industry wanting to sit down and know what's going on with their policy.
Oh, yeah.
And so
my policy like almost doubled. And I was like, wait a minute, what just happened?
Or triples or yeah. And so on the captive side, if I know I'm only able to rock and roll, if I'm entering into the business and I'm going, okay, hold on, let me look at it. Yes, great company, but I only know that I'm going to be limited with my options for the client. Whereas, okay, over here, I'm able to have X amount of options for clients. So it's to each his own, weigh it out. But coming from 17 years of being captive and now coming over to this side, it's nice to be able to have an option for the client versus just saying, hey, this is all I have.
Okay, love it. Okay, and so you mentioned that you're also, I guess you're recruiting. That's another piece of your job. So, okay, let's just say there was someone who was thinking about joining your team, coming more to the independent side. What are the benefits of you specifically in terms of what your company and you add to someone that wants to get into the industry or go to the next level?
Yeah, you get me.
Yeah, love it.
That's what
Great energy. I love that.
That's what I always tell everybody. I'm like, when you can meet with anybody, sit down and talk to any of them, even on the independent side. Like, see who you have good chemistry with. I'll even tell producers that. Go meet with a couple of different agents, see who you have chemistry with that will rock and roll, but who will mentor and train you.
Okay.
And so when you're coming on with us as a team at City Center, we hold your hand. We do a very good job of that. And then I always go back to education whenever it comes to me teaching a producer, teaching an agent. Like, if education is down packed, like, you're going to have a solid team. And I feel like we have such a solid team. So coming in, you get me. Yeah. I'll straight up say that. You get me.
Okay. Yeah. 20 years of experience working for top agents, top brokerages. I mean, you know what you're doing.
And if I don't know it, because insurance, that even changes sometimes. So, and if I don't know it, let's say that my niche is not where I know how to write every commercial policy there is known to man. Then I go and ask our team for their assistance on it. So always be willing to learn, always be willing to, but I will figure out the answer for you.
Yeah, I love that. I think that personalized touch is so important. I mean, we're in a society where so many times you're just a number, right? You just get put into these big corporate systems and you're just a cog in the machine, right? And so I love that you guys are taking a more personalized, tailored approach to really bringing your agents up. And you said producers earlier. For those who don't know, that's just the terminology used for someone who's writing policies, correct?
For sure. So there's the agency owner, and then they have what's called their producers that are in their office that are generating new business sales. And
so much like real estate. I mean, it's kind of the same thing, just selling a different product.
Right.
Okay.
For sure.
Speaking of product, what is your favorite insurance product to sell?
This is going to be funny. But you wouldn't think it, but and a lot of people are not familiar with it, but it's an umbrella policy. That's my favorite thing to sell.
Okay.
And once you break it down to ones, and there's an illustration that I use with it as well too, I love for the aha light bulb moment to come off with clients. Or even when I'm teaching like new agents or new producers or however, I love that aha moment to light bulb to come off. But I love it when I'm teaching and explaining an umbrella policy. So an umbrella policy is just what it is. Think of an umbrella. It's an excess liability policy to cover over your home, your cars, your toys. And when I say toys, I mean motorcycle, like all that kind of stuff. Boats and RVs, all those toys. What we call them. But it's $1 million. The minimum is $1 million in liability coverage. And everybody at first goes, $1 million of coverage. Like, what is this going to cost me? But you'll be very surprised that normally, like I quoted probably about 4 or 5 this week, they all fall in the range of $296 to like $450 for the year.
Okay. So very affordable, bonus coverage. Yeah. Okay.
Very affordable. So when you're talking about your professionals, you can be your average household person. God forbid you have that accident and you're the cause of it. Or there's a liability exposure. Someone comes over to your home, slips, falls. Believe me, I've seen and heard everything.
Yeah.
To know in the back of your head that I have $1 million in liability coverage that I have in my back pocket for less than $400 a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a good policy to have. And so I like to educate and I like to sell that and just see that customer, that agent, that producer, like the light bulb going, oh man, like that's a lot of coverage that can be at my fingertips for the cost of a Starbucks. If you just give me the cost of a Starbucks once a month, I can give you $1 million in liability coverage.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I had an umbrella for a rental property that I had, and I think that was so important for me because as an owner, if something happens, my tenants are coming after me.
Right.
They're coming after a landlord, right? So I was like, I'm not about to lose my whole real estate business because of somebody's kid slipped and fell on a brick that was poking up, and that's on me, right? So I felt like way more comfortable having that on top of obviously the renter has their policy as well, and then you have the home insurance. But yeah, it was just kind of the extra coverage that I felt way more comfortable with. I like that you picked that one because we talked earlier about the commission structure, so how you make money. So you just said your favorite product is one that's probably doesn't make you that much money.
No.
But it's about like putting your people first, right?
Exactly.
So I love that builds trust. Okay, my agent working with Courtney is going to care about me over just getting, selling me the next policy. Right?
One of the things that I'll always tell people is you work hard for your assets. It's my job to protect your assets.
Okay.
So I don't need to be consumed over the fact that I'm only going to get $40 commission off of this. I need to have the idea and the mindset on if anything happens to Michael Carpenter, he has $1 million protected on top of what he has on his home or his auto.
Yeah.
So one of the things you touched on it earlier, I'll tell the crew that I train, I'll tell the agents that I train, especially the crew, the second you treat John Smith, Michael Carpenter, Amy Wallace like a number, the second we are going to have a conversation. Do not sell them just to sell a policy. I need you to educate them. They know exactly what they're purchasing and why and the importance of it. But yeah, going back to umbrella, you are legally responsible and liable for that person when they step foot on in your car, they step foot in your home. And so to have that coverage, and I've seen it way too many times, it's very nice to have.
Yeah, no one cares about insurance until you need it. And then it's like, oh snap, how much insurance do I have?
Right.
Okay, so talk about the science of selling, because I think that's obviously the most important piece of insurance is being able to sell it, right? So how do you sell without being sleazy, coming across like that sales guy with commission breath? Like, how do you actually do it with dignity but actually convert? Like, you know what I mean? You also need to sell this and get people to get it. So, yeah.
Right. Whenever it comes to that not being, because sometimes insurance agents will get that rep on, it's okay, it's the insurance agent calling, or okay, it's that one. But those are usually the ones that have treated that person like a number, or they're treating the client like a number. So I'll go back to the education, communication part of it. If Michael is walking in and I'm educating him on what I'm trying to sell him or what he's asking for, if you're asking me for certain lines of business and I'm educating you and you're telling me, hey, like, this is my budget frame, this is what I'm looking at, then I'm making sure I'm working within those guidelines. But I'm educating you on that and communicating that with you. And if you're doing that with your clients, that brings a strong hold to yourself.
Okay.
Because you're selling yourself.
Right.
So if I don't know my product, if I'm not educating you as the client, well, then I am going to be maybe looked at as that insurance agent versus, hey, no, that's my insurance agent.
Yeah, I love that. And I think something that we didn't clarify earlier that I want to bring back up in terms of how insurance agents make money. So you get a percentage off the policy that you sell, but that's like residual. So that's like every year that comes back. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the industry, I mean, you think about passive ways of making income. This technically isn't a passive way to make income, but like in terms of that's a yearly, you sell someone once and you build a relationship with them. Like you said, you communicate with them, you're educating them. Right. That person can stay with you for 20 years and that's just like money coming in. So we were talking before the episode. I mean, I was like, well, I'm sure some of these really good agents can just like grind for 3 to 5 years and then just like coast after that. You got a good book of business. And so that's just another thing to think about in terms of how you build your business. You could be like, hey, I'm going to front load this and then just rely on my relationships. You know what I mean? And I think you never want to get complacent, but like if you feel like you have really good policies, you treat your people right, they really take ownership of you, I think you really could build a business where you could be on vacation selling
with your laptop in Bora Bora.
Yeah.
Well, and I'll always say that you always want to create a 2.0 of yourself. Mm-hmm. So I want Courtney 2.0. So even though I have the agency, I want a Courtney 2.0, knowing I can walk out of there and everything is still running behind the scenes with everything.
Okay.
So always duplicate yourself. And I don't think that that's just in the insurance business. That's with any business. Mm-hmm. If you are not a business owner that wants to create a 2.0 and a 3.0, mm-hmm. why would you not? Yeah. That allows you to scale off to go work on the bigger ticket items mm-hmm. and then let them run with all of the smaller mm-hmm. things. And your agency just continues to grow. Okay. Let's say you do want to have, maybe a second business or however mm-hmm. you are, right. You have a CPA accounting firm, you are in real estate or however, but you have your insurance, mm-hmm. agency as well too. Create a 2.0 and a 3.0. Mm-hmm. Be smart with how you're running your agency. Yeah. And this sucker can keep on growing for years to come mm-hmm. and you can do multi things with it.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, thank you so much. This has been incredibly insightful. I hope people who are watching this feel inspired. I'll have Courtney's information in the description. She's looking for more 2.0s. So if you want to be a top producer and get the top of your game, Courtney can help you do that. So feel free to check out some of the next episodes of the Blueprint Podcast. One of them might be popping up on your screen right now. So thank you guys for watching.
Thanks, Michael.